listeners. Welcome to Plano's Political Pitbull podcast. This is Esther, and Ruth is not feeling well today, so it is just me. So yesterday, June 6th, 2026, was our 2-year anniversary. So happy anniversary to us, to our little podcast here. If you have been with us from the beginning, thank you for staying with us. And if you are new or came in the middle, thank you for staying and joining us. And we also want to give a big thank you to our sponsor. Our sponsor is Southwest Pain Management. Southwest Pain Management takes care of most chronic pain without pain pills. Their goal is to get you back to doing the things you love. They are also the world's leading long COVID experts. Dr. Groisman sees people from all over the world to treat their long COVID. Southwest Pain Management is in Plano. Please go to their website, reliefbeginshere.com. That's reliefbeginshere.com to see all that they do. Tomorrow, Monday, June 8th, 2026, is a big day for Plano and the City Council. Tomorrow, the City Council votes on 4 agenda items, all relating to the Dallas Stars hockey team moving to Plano. Let's start off with agenda item number 1, the creation of a tax increment reinvestment zone 6, or as I like to call these zones, the corporate welfare zones. We already have 5 of them. Now we're getting a 6th. So the zone that is being set up is basically being set up to help fund the new arena. However, the zone is bigger than just the Willow Bend Mall property. The zone is 896.94 acres, or over 900 acres, depending on which document you are reading. Are you reading the ordinance for the zone, or are you reading the finance plan for it? Because both have different numbers. The zone goes from the railroad tracks before Bush Turnpike, parts of Midway, parts of International Parkway, parts of Plano Parkway, West Park Boulevard, Communications, Windhaven, Parkwood, and the NTTA Customer Service Center. I will put a picture of it on our website, planospoliticalpitbull.com, for you so you all can see what I am talking about. So this area has 290 property owners. And the way that Plano let all of these property owners and all of the business owners in the area know that the city wants to put in a TERS, as it's called, in shorthand, is through a notice in the Dallas Morning newspaper. No letter, no social media post, just one little notice in one newspaper. In the ordinance, the city says, essential public infrastructure and economic development programs are needed to attract new business and commercial activity to the proposed zone, thereby increasing the real property tax base for all taxing units within the zone, increasing sales and use tax revenues for the city and the state of Texas, and creating additional job opportunities for residents of the city and the region. Have they been to the west side of Plano? Because it's got that, okay? It's got many, many businesses there. It's got all kinds of stuff. I don't know what they're talking about. They continue to go on and say, the area is predominantly open or undeveloped, and due to obsolete platting, deterioration of structures or site improvements or other factors substantially impedes the municipality's sound growth. This is a lie. This is an out and out lie. They gave us the numbers. There is over $1 billion in property tax value in the proposed zone alone. So that's ridiculous. We almost have too much development. They go on. The council finds that the development or redevelopment of the property in the proposed zone is not reasonably likely to occur solely through private investment in the foreseeable future. What the heck are you talking about? We just had a build out of the property on the Dallas Parkway and Parker, where the Eatsies is, Corona Grill, right next to the large movie theater. It's across from a Tom Thumb. On a weekend night for dinner, you can't get in the place. There's an apartment building there, a 5-story one. It's almost new. It's maybe a couple of years old. So that is just a lie again. Across the street from it, on Parker, a new Mexican restaurant just moved into the old On the Border restaurant spot. That retail space probably empty for a couple of months. Now, yes, we have some things for lease, but we don't have a lot of things for lease. So there is a ton of private business going on over there. And take a wild guess who the council is going to appoint to the board of directors for this zone. If you said themselves, you would be correct. Yes, they are appointing themselves to be the board of directors of the zones, of the zone. There's no conflict of interest there at all. The ordinance goes on. The City Council hereby authorizes the board, as necessary or convenient, to implement the project and finance plan and achieve its purposes to establish and provide for the administration of one or more programs for the public purposes of developing and diversifying the economy of the zone, eliminating unemployment and underemployment in the zone, and developing or expanding transportation businesses and commercial activity in the zone, including programs to make grants of land and buildings and make grants from the TERS number 6 fund for activities that benefit the zone and stimulate business and commercial activity in the zone. Why don't they just also write in Hail Mussolini? This is right out of his playbook. I also don't know what they're talking about underemployment. There is no underemployment here. In fact, it is very hard to get a job in that area. How do I know this? Because I have somebody who actually was looking, and there were almost no openings. And the piece de resistance, the zone will be active for 41 years. It will take effect immediately and terminate in December of 2067. 41 years. I'm trying to think how old Ruth would be. I may not even be here. I may be at the gravesite. All 100% of new property taxes will go to the zone's fund. They will not go to the city. No, to the city's general fund. No. Won't go for police, fire. No. All of the zone's new sales tax dollars collected will also go to the fund. Now, I will explain a little bit more on how this is going to work, because at first I didn't quite understand it. It wasn't totally clear, but I will explain it when I go over the financial plan. And speaking of the financial plan, it is 24 pages long. And no, I am not going to read it all. I'll just give you the highlights. So on page 5 of the finance plan, there are eligibility requirements under the law that the state of Texas created so that these zones could be created by cities. And this one is quite offensive, this first requirement. It says that the area must substantially arrest or impairs the sound growth of the municipality designating the zone, retard the provision of housing accommodations, or constitutes an economic or social liability, and is a menace to public health, safety, morals, or welfare in its present condition. Yeah. Have they lost their minds? Is that really what the city is saying this area is? Because if that's so, they have not been in that area. We have north side of Plano, okay? This area that I'm talking about has Target, Costco's, Kroger, Tom Thumb, Eatsy's, Walmart, every kind of little retail shop you can think of. It's got nice high-end restaurants. It's got fast food restaurants. If you want McDonald's, it's got McDonald's. It's got Chick-fil-A if you'd rather have Chick-fil-A. It's got very nice high-end Total Wine. Your craft, it's everything you can imagine. Home Depot, Hobby Lobby, PetSmart, you name it, it's pretty much got it. So there is no way it is an economic or social liability and a menace to public health. And next requirement is it is predominantly open or underdeveloped. Nope, not true. Not true at all. I can only think of 2 plots of land that are vacant right now. It is not a federally assisted new community located in the city or in an area immediately adjacent to a federally assisted new community. Nope, sorry, that doesn't apply here. So I don't know how they are going to say that they have to make this whole area, this all 800 plus acres, a tourist zone, when really the only thing that is a problem is the Willow Bend Mall. That is the only thing that is a problem. And I will happily admit to that. And if they wanted to make the Willow Bend Mall property a TERS zone, that would make more sense. This makes no sense. Also, in the financial plan, they say the development and redevelopment require substantial public infrastructure improvements that must be constructed and will not be provided solely through private investment in the foreseeable future. The property lacks public infrastructure and requires economic incentives to attract development and redevelopment for the purpose of providing long-term economic benefits, including but not limited to increased real property tax base for all taxing units in the zone. That is only the mall. And it doesn't actually completely fit the mall either, because it has public infrastructure, because it's already a mall. It's not an open field. I also want to know the guys who own the property now. What happened with that deal? They came in, they said, we're going to be the Bend. We're going to have apartments, townhomes, single family, upscale restaurants and retail. What happened to that plan? The little theater was supposed to get a spot too. Not quite sure what happened there. Let's talk money now. I mean, it, after all, is a financial plan. So the cost of the project, it says, will be $700 million. $700,499,945. So $700 million is going to go to the sports center for the Stars. That is the amount of taxpayer money that is going to go for that. The $499,945 is for administration costs. Oh, and even better, they don't know what the interest on the debt will be. That is to be determined according to the financial agreement. So this cost will be higher because, yes, I'm sorry, the city doesn't have $700 million in cash on hand. So guess what, folks? They got to take out a bond. They're going to take out a bond to build a sports arena. Now, here's where the taxes come in. During the term of the zone, new development, which would have not occurred but for the zone, will generate approximately $1,377,499,000 $464 in total new real property tax revenue. And the city will retain nothing. Over $1.3 billion, all will be going into the TERS Zone 6 fund. And again, that is new property tax value. So whatever it is today, and I believe it's over $1 billion today in property tax value. So whatever the property taxes collected is today, that's your base. Anything in addition that is collected, because taxes go up, if valuations go up, maybe they make a new building somewhere, maybe they make improvements and therefore their taxes go up. All that new tax revenue goes into the fund. The city gets nothing from that. It goes into the fund. Now, sales taxes. The approximate 200 million, 598,628 is in estimated new sales tax revenue. That all goes into the fund as well. So over 1.3 billion to the fund and $245 million in sales taxes goes into the fund. Not for police, not fire, not for roads in East Plano. Sorry, guys. Goes into the fund. The zone will pay debt services on the bonds or public indebtedness. That's what all that money is going to go to. It's to pay off that bond. The current tax base of this zone area, that's what they're currently collecting, or the current valuation of all the properties all together in this zone, are $1.6 billion. Specifically, $1,633,085,024. Yes, we're so underdeveloped in that zone. We're a menace to society in the zone. But we're worth over $1.6 billion. And the current sales taxes collected in the zone is $7,081,035. Such a blight on the city, yet they collect over $7 million in sales taxes. Who are they trying to kid? The money the zone gets will pay the following costs in the following order. Number one, administrative costs. Yeah, administrative costs. They get paid first. Number two, debt service on the bonds. Number three, developer reimbursements for all or any portion of the amounts expended to fund public improvements as appropriate from necessary TERS subaccounts pursuant to the TERS agreement. Any other item identified in the plan and eligible under the Act. So first, you got to pay the administrative costs. Then you can pay your debt. Yeah, that's backwards. Let's not kid ourselves. This zone is only being set up to build a sports center for the Stars. But they are not just stopping the zone at the Willow Bend borders. Okay? No. They are including over 800 acres. I am suspicious about that because it doesn't make sense. I can see if you were going to make the TERS zone the Willow Bend property. I'd still disagree with it because it's still corporate welfare. It's still taking money away from the general fund. But at least we know that area is not doing well economically. That is at least provable. Heck, the mall is empty. So item 2 on the agenda is an economic development grant to the current owners of the Willow Bend property for $15 million. So what are they getting $15 million for? Well, basically, the demolition of the inline space of the mall, the theater, Dillard's, and the Crayola building. Also, they have to do site preparation work for the redevelopment. And they have 2 years to do all of this. The property owner will also designate a new visitors center, storefront, and office space for Visit Plano as part of the redevelopment on the property. The visitors center will start out as a shell space. So the property owner has to build a shell space no smaller than 6,500 square feet and provide the space rent-free for a term of 10 years from the date of occupancy. So the city gets a free shell built for them of no less than 6,500 square feet, and they don't have to pay rent. $15 million for this. Also, the city will waive building fees, inspection fees, planning and engineering fees to the redevelopment. The city is also going to do something that I find a little strange. They're going to make a separated contract for sales tax. The city is going to require the significant contractors to purchase each equipment and materials for resale tax-free to the property owner, and require the purchase of such equipment and materials to be purchased by the subcontractors free of state and local sales tax and charges. So if I'm reading this correctly, and if I'm understanding what's going on here correctly, I think what they're saying is that contractors will purchase equipment and materials for resale to the property owner tax-free, meaning they're not going to charge the property owner for the sales tax that the contractor had to pay when it bought the materials. The contractor is going to have to eat the sales tax. That's really odd to me. I honestly don't see how you can force a contractor or a subcontractor to do that. I just don't. Now, they are not waiving some study and analysis fees. That at least there has to be a water and sewer study. Well, that's a water and sewer study. Yes, please. Do you know how much water an ice skating rink uses? And the sewer, it's a public facility. It's going to require a lot of sewer. There's going to be a traffic impact analysis. And I think they need to add an energy study, because this thing is going to eat up a ton of energy, because the rink has to keep the ice solid, and that requires a lot of cold. Cold requires a lot of electricity. With electricity, we don't have. We're in short supply of. So that is the highlights of the Economic Development Agreement. Item number 3 is the letter of intent with the stars for the new sports center. Now we're getting down to the actual sports center. This is a very detailed, non-binding agreement. And in the letter or agreement, the city will give $700 million for the development costs for the sporting center. And the stars will give $300 million towards the build. By the way, the stars are worth $2.3 billion. They are one of the most and highest valued sports teams in the hockey league, in the whole National Hockey League. But they want us to build them an arena. So in the letter, it goes over a lot of stuff. I'm only going to read a few things. The city will own the arena site and the arena. This is a horrible idea. I'm going to say this right off the bat. Horrible idea. We talked about this in a previous episode. The city always loses financially in the long run. It was a very detailed study. A 50-year study was done on these sporting stadiums. They always cost more than they bring in. The agreement goes on. The city will give a long-term lease of 30 years to the Stars for the arena site and the arena. The Stars will retain all revenues generated from the use and operation of the arena. So we don't get any money from ticket sales. The Stars get that. Isn't that nice? The Stars will also be responsible for the operation and routine repair and maintenance of the arena. However, the city may also contribute to the funding of certain long-term capital repairs, replacements, and improvements to the extent provided in the capital asset management plan that they're going to set up. So the sports team gets all the money from all the tickets sales from their games and any other stuff that might happen at this venue, because it's going to be a multi-use venue. They'll cover the ice and do concerts and whatever. But we have to cough up some capital maintenance money when something really is in need of repair, major repairs. So I bet by now you're wondering, well, how are they going to get there? How's everybody going to get there on game day? Well, good news, it's in the agreement. No, not really, because all it says is the city and the Stars will collaborate and work in good faith with the city's public transportation providers. I think that's code for DART. To expand the provisioning of public transportation to include one or more bus stops within walking distance of the arena, and the addition of one or more new bus routes and shuttles. So there's already a bus stop at the mall. Yeah. So is that supposed to be the one? Is there going to be another one? Are they going to put a stop on the other side of the mall? How is this going to work? And that's only if DART is okay with it. Also, they will work in good faith to incorporate commuting options brought on by the sharing economy, car share, ride share, and bike share, among others. Doesn't say anything about scooter share, into the design of public transportation. Yeah. But again, there's no guarantees here, you see, because this is only in good faith. Like, this is what we'd like to do, but may not work out. There's also going to be a parking plan. There will be on-site parking opportunities, residential permit parking participation. So the residents in the area have to get a permit to park. That's not right. That is not right. And of course, enforcement. And in 15 years, this whole thing gets reevaluated. Right, smack dab in the middle of their 30-year lease. There are going to be lots of agreements for this venue. There's going to be a development agreement, a design and construction agreement, lease agreement, non-relocation agreement, team sublease agreement, community benefits agreement, intellectual property rights agreement, construction trust agreement, and guarantee agreements. Their agreements have agreements. So that is it on the letter of intent. And item number 3. Now on to item number 4. That is a resolution to build the sports center. The resolution of the City of Plano, Texas, designating and providing for the planning, acquisition, establishment, development, construction, and renovation of a sports and community venue project. And the voters will get to vote on the question. Yes, you will. If the city council passes this resolution, it doesn't just mean we get a sports arena. No, folks, you actually get to decide if we're going to build the actual arena. Because that is the law. Thank you, Texas legislature. So, the facility that is planned for use for one or more professional or amateur sports events, community events, or other sports events, including rodeos, livestock shows, agricultural expositions, promotional events, and other civic or charitable events. For livestock and rodeos, they're going to be kind of cold because they don't melt the ice. They put a floor over it. Yeah, so the animal's going to be chilly. The city, they go on to say, may finance the venue project through a combination of the imposition of a short-term motor vehicle rental tax at the maximum rate of 5%. So let's say your car is in need of major repairs. Maybe you've gotten into a car accident. It's going to be at the body shop. And you now have to rent a car. And maybe you get a deal with your insurance company that a lot of times insurance companies will pay for a certain number of days or they'll give you money towards it. Well, your bill for the rental just went up, or is going to go up if this passes, I should say. There's going to be a fee for event parking not to exceed $3 per vehicle. Now, see, this is where I say they are not thinking. They want to charge $3 a vehicle. And yet DART only charges $3 one way, $6 round trip. So they're charging less to park your car than they are for you to take Uber, Lyft, or even DART. This arena, their arena right now holds 18 to 20,000 people. Now, I realize that there's not going to be 18 to 20,000 cars. Okay. Most people, they go to shows and events like this in pairs. So we can divide that number in half. So let's say 10,000 cars. And then maybe you'll get people who take DART. It's not going to be as easy as it is to get to American Airlines. American Airlines, you could take the train into downtown. There is no train there. The train tracks that borders the tourist zone, that's a freight train track. So there is no train. It's going to be bus. Also, there will be an imposition of an event admissions tax at a rate not to exceed 10% of the price of the admission to an event. So now you're going to pay 10% extra on your ticket, and they wonder why tickets are so expensive. Also, there will be a venue facility use tax at an amount not to exceed $5,000 per game on each member of a major league team that plays in the venue project. I wonder if that will also be for anybody else who performs there. It doesn't say. Also, there's more. A combined hotel occupancy tax rate will be 15%. So right now, our hotel motel tax is 13%. They're going to raise it 15%. So now, if your relatives come over for a visit, maybe they live on the other side of the country, they fly in, you don't have any room, maybe you don't want them there in your house, so they stay at a hotel, their hotel bill just went up. Now we have one other out. Before calling an election, the city has to submit this resolution to the Texas Comptroller, and he has to write a review of whether implementation of this resolution would have a significant negative fiscal impact on state revenue, and if so, provide recommendations to mitigate such impacts. And if the comptroller gives the okay, the city can call the election to vote on the building of the arena. So hopefully the comptroller doesn't like it. So this boondoggle of a project is not a guarantee, thankfully, because the residents have to vote on it. I don't know when they're going to call the election for. Obviously, it's easier if they call the election during the November midterm elections this coming November. Then we don't have to vote twice. We did an episode on the long-term outcomes of sports stadiums and the cost to cities. The 50-year study we talked about in that episode was clear. And they weren't the only study out there. They weren't the only report out there on this topic. All of them come to the same conclusion. In the long term, the cities always lose. They lose economically. They lose financially. The only winner is the team. The stars have only been at the American Airlines since 2001. 2001. Their lease is up in 2031. And instead of renewing their lease and staying where they are, I've been to the American Airlines Center. It's a very nice facility. I obviously am not a contractor. I haven't gotten under the building. I don't know what's going on underneath this building. But why wouldn't they want to stay? I believe that the Dallas Mavericks, the basketball team, is also leaving the American Airlines Center, but at least they're staying in Dallas. They're just moving, I think, a little bit north, but they're staying in the city at least. So I want you to think about the long-term effects of this project. Right? Yeah, everybody thinks, oh, this is great. It'll bring tourism. It'll bring taxes. Well, no, it won't, because all the taxes are going to stay in the zone. It's going to bring jobs. No, not really, because the jobs are usually part-time, temporary, and minimum wage. So let's think fast forward 30 years from now. Okay, I've gone over all that. I've gone over the actual economic impact. The city loses, the businesses around the area lose. It doesn't work. So let's fast forward 30 years from now. It is 2056. And the $1 billion arena that the city owns is now old and outdated. What will stop the stars from picking up and leaving us and going to Frisco or Allen or maybe even out of state? We will be back to where we are today. We will have an old, outdated area that is bleeding the city dry because now we own it. And unlike today, the property is privately owned. Okay? And yes, technically the money that is in the fund for the zone, for the TER zone, is supposed to go for the upkeep. But let me tell you something that I know to be true because I have witnessed this. The city is allowed to take funds from the general fund, from the city trough, and use it for the upkeep of projects in the zone. I've seen them do it. I have seen them request money for other zones out of the general fund. In one instance, in one case, Anthony Riccadelli brought it up the fact that this property, this area is in a TER zone. It should come out of that fund, this money. Why are we having it come out of the general fund? And the answer the staff person gave is, well, we don't want to necessarily lower the fund that much. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. This was a while ago. So don't think that just because there's a fund that's sitting there with all this money in it, that the city is not going to also take money from the general fund to support this project. Because it surely will. Because they've done it before. Once we do this agreement, once we build this building, it's ours. With all of the costs to take care of it and run it. It becomes another liability that the taxpayers have to take care of, whether it's the taxpayers of the zone or the taxpayers of the whole city. Most people who live near the property are worried about traffic because it's going to be a nightmare on game day. They often close off the roads when people are coming out. People can't get to their homes on these days. There's going to be drunk driving because what do you do at a hockey game? You drink, right? What do you do at a sporting event? Usually drink. And then people go and they drive home drunk in their cars. There's going to also be more crime. Sadly, these arenas, when you have all of these people gathered together, it's a free-for-all for pickpockets. Also on game days, there can be vandalism if the team wins a big game or loses a big game. I don't quite understand that. I mean, if the Stars win the Stanley Cup at the home arena, people are going to be worried about the celebratory violence and destruction that always take place when this happens. And again, I don't quite understand it, but it happens. Some residents in the area are worried about the resale value of their homes because honestly, who's going to want to live within walking distance or 5 minutes or 10 minutes from a attraction like this? Not somebody who wants to raise their children in a nice, peaceful, quiet neighborhood. Yeah, somebody who wants to maybe go to the arena there or that property there a lot, maybe they would. But most people don't want to live near these things. They want to live away from them because they don't want to be woken up at night by crazy people hooting and hollering because their team won. I am, of course, worried about the long-term economic impact this will have on Plano and the taxpayers. The money that will go to the fund for the next 41 years, the money that will be diverted from the general fund to the TERS fund for the next 41 years will be less than it would have been but for the zone creation. That means less money for police, fire, and other needs of the city as a whole. So yeah, the general fund is going to get less money than it would have if this never existed. Will the city council have to come to us again and again and again during budget time and say, sorry, but we have to raise your property taxes again and again and again? Don't think this project will reduce our taxes, because it won't. It will only raise them. So if you don't like this fascist corporate welfare boondoggle, go to City Council Monday at 7 p.m., June 8th, 2026, and either register your opinion or speak on one of the agenda items. You can speak on all of them if you wish. Remember, keep your remarks to 2 minutes or less, and write out what you are going to say and rehearse it. Okay? It's very important you come prepared. And be mindful, there could be a lot of speakers. So make sure your comments are quick and to the point, because I've seen it happen. The mayor will give sometimes 90 seconds, a minute and a half. I don't know what the heck you could possibly say in a minute and a half, but try. If you don't want to speak, that is totally fine, okay? That might show more of an impact, actually, because the less people that speak, the more time the speakers actually have. So you can register your opposition, but just not speak, and then take a 8x11 piece of paper or cardboard and write no stars on it, or no arena, or just vote no, and hold it up. Sorry, the city does not allow bigger signs. Also, all of you who oppose, I suggest you wear the same color. So I suggest black as as a color to wear, okay? But you guys can get together and determine that yourself. I'm putting out black out there, okay? And this way, when they look out in the audience, they will see a throng of people all against them. If the council votes for all of these items as they are currently written in 2027, vote those who are up for re-election out. And that would be Levine, Thomas, and Horn. So 2 is termed out in 2027. Thank the Lord. Right? So we've got 3 who are up for re-election, 1 who is termed out, so we get a new person either way. But send the message that way. Vote them out in May of 2027. I am also going to write an article on these topics for our website, for our readers, and also for those who maybe want some visual talking points. You can feel free to copy and paste my facts. You do not have to credit me. It's okay. But do whatever you can do to get the message across that you don't want this. It's not a good idea. They never are. And yet, cities and towns and states keep doing this. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We've had 50 years of actual real life outcomes. It's always a loss for the city, for the residents. So please do whatever you can do to get the word out to your friends, get other people to register in opposition, and let council know you don't want this. And if they pass it, you will vote against them. All right, on to our very important dog, Mr. Thor. Thor is still at the shelter. Thor is a friendly boy who is about 2 years of age, is very playful with children. He is active when he plays, so may be best in a home without young children. Thor was very excited for his first Pups in the Parks walk. He had lots of energy as he left his kennel, but settled down quickly. He was very patient while being harnessed in the lobby of the shelter and loaded into the car without issue. Thor rode well in the car and was very relaxed. He walked well on leash and got along well with the other dogs in the group. Thor exhibited no prey drive while encountering birds and squirrels along the walk. So if you are interested in Thor, please go to www.planospoliticalpitbull.com and click on the link Pitbulls for Adoption, right underneath an adorable picture of Mr. Thor. That is a wrap for us folks today. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Esther for Plano's Political Pitbull, signing off.